Booyah!
Hey guys, how's it going? I'm here today for another TF2 rant, where I talk about things completely unrelated to TF2 while still playing TF2. Before I start, I want to talk about my 1,000 subscriber special that's coming up. I'm getting relatively close, 920 subs is not that far off, so I think now is a good time to ask you guys to do what I'm planning, which is a Q&A. For Q&As, I want you guys to ask me whatever question you want. This is your chance to ask me good, actual questions. You can ask me in YouTube comments, you can ask me in the comments of my channel, you can ask me in Steam, and you can ask me in my Twitter. Anywhere is open, so long as it's easy for me to find. So don't ask me in some really fucking old video that's 2 years old, because I probably won't find it, and I won't end up, I don't want to put it in the video. Anyway, now that I've gotten past that and I've talked about this Q&A that I'm planning to do, I want to talk about the topic of this video, which is how effective is censorship for video games. Now, I will dabble in other senses of media like film and books and all that kind of stuff, although books is definitely not a good example of that, but film is. I want to talk about specifically video games. How effective is video games for this? Now, basically what video games offers in terms of censorship is just a rating system, similar like other things like movies, comic books, and all that stuff. Their main source of censorship is their rating system, which is, they're ranked at 16s, 18s, children, mature, whatever. Simply put, I don't think this is very effective for censoring for children. Mainly because although these rating systems are very good, they're not very effective in actually stopping a child from playing a game. Children are very inclined to doing things they're not meant to do, and games that have a high rating on them are not very difficult to be out of their reach. The further you put it from their reach, the more they want it. The more they want it, the more they'll ask their parents. And the more they ask their parents, the more their parents think about it and actually will eventually say yes. In my opinion, it's not very effective in actually stopping children. But what it is effective for is educating parents. The problem with this is, though, parents don't seem to want to understand how rating systems work and just kind of buy games without looking at the rating system, not questioning why their child is asking them to buy them their game, and then they wonder why their child is allowed to play such mature games, and they'll blame everyone else except for themselves. In my opinion, in terms of physical copies, it is completely the parent's fault if they mess up. I think it's up to the parent to look at rating systems, to understand how they work, and to appropriate whether or not they should get their child the game. If the child is like 11 or 12, they should not be getting an 18's game. GTA has such a massive gamer pool from such a young audience. That means one of two things. One, they have parents who are relatively open to buying them games, or two, they have parents that are ignorant. Now, to be honest, playing mature games shouldn't have that much of an effect for children of a slightly older age, like 13, 14, 15. But when you're 10 or 11, or you're very, very young, you should not be playing games as violent as GTA, in my opinion, because there is research and studies that have said that people become more violent overall if they start playing things that are violent from a younger age. Now, I could go into correlation and not causation and all these different arguments against these research, but I'm just saying what the research says. This doesn't necessarily reflect on my opinion. Now, whatever I say against game in a physical sense, I definitely believe in a digital sense that censorship needs to improve. Now, I thought censorship was fine for physical copies because you could just blame the parents, because in the end of the day it was the parents' fault if they gave them a mature game and then blamed the developer of the game, the publishers, the people who rated it, and the sellers of the game instead of blaming themselves, and they'll resort to media in order to blame everybody else. But digital copies are slightly different because a lot of children these days have access to computers, laptops, tablets, whatever. But the censorship has not really appropriated for these younger children because they just kind of say what age, because they do kind of use the legal necessity and ask the person before they start, what age are they? But the problem with this is even very young children are smart enough to understand that they're probably not allowed to play this, and they can just click above the number they say they are and they'll probably get in. A very small fraction of children don't understand this. So in my opinion, it's not really that effective. So in saying that, I think that digital copies need to improve their censorship system. I always believe that physical copies, their censorship system was just fine, because the blame could always be appropriated to the person who had to physically walk up to the counter and buy it for their child. In my opinion, children don't necessarily need to have games censored for them as heavily as you might think I'm saying. I think it is good for children to play games that are slightly above their age set, because it allows them to feel more mature and feel more independent in themselves. But there are games that are far, far too mature for a very young child. Like, for example, I have a cousin who is 8 years old and he plays Call of Duty. 8. A person of 8 years old is far too young to be playing a game specifically designed for at least 16-year-olds, if not 18-year-olds and up. I know I'm not alone. This isn't an unusual example. Very, very, very young children play very mature games these days. Although nothing's going to happen to probably change that. There's no laws that are going to be changed for a very, very long time that are going to in any way change the condition for this. In fact, when I was young, I had games bought for me because it was very, very easy. So in my opinion, this won't change for a long time. And I think that it's not the biggest deal if a child can buy a game that's way too old for them, just so long as the parents know the conditions they're putting themselves in. I think so long as the blame remains solely on the parents for these, I'll have no problem with censorship issues. But if this ever reflects on gaming as a whole, then I will definitely want a far bigger censorship, because I don't want this entire thing with censorship reflecting on gaming as a whole, especially when other mediums have all a similarly weak sense of censorship. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time and have a nice day.